This is Ron Fulmer from MySeps Technology Group. We're a Microsoft partner and we specialize in helping supply chain companies become more efficient and more profitable. And we do so using Microsoft's Business Central ERP solution as well as Microsoft's Power Platform. We're going to look at how to create your first Power BI dashboard using Microsoft Business Central and Power BI. First thing you're going to need is the Power BI desktop tool or application. You can download that for free from Microsoft's site. If you go to powerbi.com, you should have access to the application to download it and install on your PC. Thing to keep in mind is that as long as you have a Business Central user license, you can use the Business Central and Power BI connection and the Power BI license for that. So you don't need to buy an additional Power BI license as long as you already have a Business Central user license. Now, the caveat to that is if you want to share out the dashboard you create to other users in your organization, you'll have to buy a Power BI license to be able to do that. But if you're creating one just for yourself, your own use, some testing and development purposes, you can simply just use your Microsoft Business Central license and have access through Power BI, and everything's fine. So real quick here, to get access to your Power BI and Business Central data, you'll click on Get Data, of course, and there are many, many different options to get data to bring into Power BI, as you can see. We're going to stick to Business Central today. And the left-hand column, we'll just go to Online Services. We'll select Business Central. The first one is the cloud. Of course, the second one is on-premise. So we'll just select Business Central. What that will do is connect through your organizational account to your Business Central environment. It'll list your Business Central tenants and environments that you have listed here. I'm going to select our sandbox environment that has demo data in it. If you select standard APIs version 2, those are all the APIs provided by Microsoft out of the box for Business Central. You can see there's quite an extensive list, and you can look at those as kind of a table, if you will, but they're really not tables. They're representation of the tables providing columns for those certain tables through an API. And again, these are all out of the box from Microsoft. If there are columns that you would like to have added to the API, it's a very simple process. Either have your Microsoft partner do that or have a developer do that for you. I'm going to select the sales invoices, and if you click on Transform Data, it'll take you to Microsoft Power Query. If you're familiar with Excel and using Power Query in Excel, it is the same thing and the same screens and the same processes to tweak your data that you want to look at. So we are today looking at the sales invoice headers, which is what the API selected. So we're looking at the sales invoice headers, and just like in Power Query and Excel that you may be familiar with, you can filter and sort and everything on all your data in this Power Query editor. Thing to keep in mind is that's something you will want to do with all your data to get it filtered down to a spot where you want it and bring that data into your Power BI desktop. You want to do that for performance reasons, and you don't want to request too much data from Business Central because Microsoft does limit the amount of data you can extract through their APIs. So you want to limit the amount of data that you're requesting. You'll notice in the Sales Invoice Header API, you have access to actually the sales invoice lines as well, which is kind of nice. So you don't have to correlate those lines or join those tables, if you will. You see here sales invoice line column at the top, and it says table below that. So it's actually connecting to the sales invoice lines table. Since they already have a connection to that or joined to that, I'm going to select on this button at the top of the column, and that's basically to expand that table out, and you can select the columns that you want. Now again, you don't want all the columns naturally, so I'm going to just simply select a couple of the columns that we might want. So, and we'll kind of go from there. You select OK. Again, it goes out to the APIs and brings in just example data into here. And if you notice at the top, at the beginning of the column name, it'll add sales invoice lines dot unit price dot quantity. So that's how you know we can differentiate between a sales header and sales invoice lines naturally. So if you have the data that you want, you simply at the top here click on close and apply. That'll apply those settings and bring all that data that you're requesting into the Power BI environment so that you have access to that to create your dashboards. Since we don't have a whole lot of demo data in our demo system, it won't take long at all, which is good. However, if you do have a lot of data in your Business Central system, which many of us do, it'll take much longer to bring that data in here. And that's another reason why in Power Query, you'll want to limit and filter out the data that you don't want to bring in here and just bring in the data that you absolutely need. It's going to make things work much more efficiently and quicker. So here's just a blank canvas that we're starting with. And if you notice over here on the right hand side of my screen, we have access to all those columns that we just brought in by using the Microsoft Business Central API. We're just going to create some simple tables here. I'm going to create a invoice header table. I'm going to put in the customer name, and I'm going to also put the invoice number in. You can put in the posting date if you wish, any other column that you wish to bring in here, and it's going out, of course, and bringing that data in. We'll see it in a moment. So that's the sales header table. As you can see, it brought in the customer name, the invoice number. I'm going to insert another table, and we're going to call that, or bring in the sales invoice line. So if you look to the right hand side, we see sales invoice lines, all the columns that are showing here, description, the quantity, unit price, whatever you want to look at. And when you add tables to the one given page, you can, and you have your data joined, you can actually, as you'll see, select data in one table and it will show the related data in the table below. So if I select Alpine Ski House, as far as the invoice header, of course, it only shows the line showing up in any of the invoices that show up there. So if you want to, it's just like Excel as well, in the fact that you can, if you wish, you can insert slicers. So in that slicer, I'm going to insert the customer name, as you can see. And if you select the customer name, it will only show you sales headers and lines associated with that customer. And if you're like me, I don't really like the look of that slicer. So one of the things you can actually change is just the slicer settings from a vertical list to a drop down, which I like because it doesn't use as much real estate that way. So then you can just select them this way. You can also create multiple slicers if you wish, of course, and we can go in there and insert, of course, the sales invoice number if you're looking for a particular sales invoice. And again, I don't really like the look of that slicer, so I always change it to a drop down. You can make it anything you wish. You can select, as you can see, a particular sales invoice, and it'll just show you the data related to that invoice that you select in the slicer. And you can select, if you have a ton of data, you can select the customer and then the invoice related to that customer, and that's what you'll see. So the slicers are related to one another as well. Well, I hope that was helpful. Thank you very much for watching. Please feel free to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of our informative videos moving forward, and I hope you have a great day.